technique called as a Scrum. So that's what today we are going to study. What is Scrum? Scrum is a methodology used for project management. What about extreme programming, students? What for we use extreme programming? I told you yesterday. Tell me. Hello, students. Tell me 2-3 points about extreme programming. Hello. Anyone tell me 2-3 points about extreme programming? Hello, Benakraj. Hello, Uma.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, tell me what you know about extreme programming.
We have to develop software and we can release it after completion of any of the steps in a iterative way.
Not any of the steps. Once you completely develop the requirements taken for that iteration, then you have to test it and release it. You can have very
Okay, sir.
quick software releases. Then here, main emphasis is on people rather than process. And in extreme programming, they follow pair programming. And there is collective ownership. Okay, now we'll see Scrum. Students, Scrum is an agile method that focuses on managing iterative development rather than specific agile practices. So if you say, for example, you are following agile methodology and you are using extreme programming for the development, for the project development, then you are pending with how to maintain the project. For that, you can have Scrum. So Scrum is one such methodology which can be used to manage the overall process of iterative development. There are three phases in Scrum. The first phase is called as the initial phase. So the initial phase gives you an outline planning about um, to set what are the objectives for this Scrum for the project and the design of the software architecture. And this phase is followed by a series of sprint cycles where each cycle develops an increment of the software. And the third phase is called as the closure phase, which wraps up the complete project and which checks the completeness of the project, and it also completes required documentation such as system help, frames and user manuals, and assesses the lessons learned from the project. So here the first phase is the initial phase. So in the initial phase, we are going to set what are the objectives for this project and how we are going to develop the project and how many cycles it may take to develop the project. Then, very importantly, we have to design the software architecture. And this first phase is followed by a series of sprint cycle. You know that each cycle may last from 2 to 4 weeks. Say for example, the first sprint cycle is for 15 days, and all the remaining Scrum cycles will be of 15 days. If the first cycle is of 4 weeks, then all the remaining cycles will be of 4 weeks. So that means a sprint cycle may span from 15 days to 30 days. And during the last phase, that is the closure phase. So by the end of the closure phase, we see that there is at least minimum documentation required, and that has to be completed. And also, we have to prepare the user manual so that it will be useful for the end users about how to configure the system, how to use the system, and to get a brief details about what the system, what are the features provided by the overall system. And here, see, when I say Scrum, the main emphasis is on Scrum meetings. As I told every day, we conduct meetings. So during the beginning of the day, we will be having a meeting. We call it as, in the industry they call it as the stand-up meetings. And at the end of the day, there will be one more meeting. So where they'll update how much work was completed for the day and the reason. If not completed, they have to give the reason, and they have to show the build file to their lead. Look at the Scrum terminology. Development team. Say it's a self-organizing software development team, and the maximum size of the team is 7 people, and they are responsible for developing the software and all other related essential documents. The essential documents in the sense like project report, user manual, and so on. Then potentially shippable product increment. See, the meaning of product potentially shippable product increment means for each of the sprint cycle, you will be considering certain requirements based upon the priority, and those requirements are to be implemented, tested, and will be released. That is called potentially shippable product increment. That is, in each increment, you are going to deliver a software. That is called as potentially shippable product increment. Then product backlog. The product backlog is nothing but a repository that contains all the user stories or the scenarios. That means here we are going to document the requirements of the client in terms of user stories or scenarios. From that product backlog, by assigning the suitable priority, we will take very few user stories or the scenarios to be implemented for this current sprint cycle. That is called product backlog. That means the product backlog contains all the requirements in the form of user stories or scenarios. Next, product owner. A product owner is an individual whose job is to identify product features or requirements. Then he has to prioritize these for the development team, and continuously he has to review the product backlog, and he has to maintain continuous contact with the customer to see that the product changes, anything suggested by the client will be informed to the development team. The product owner can be the customer, but might also be a product manager in a software company or any stakeholder representative. That means a product owner can be the product manager. That means the employee of the software company, or sometimes even he can be the client representative or any other stakeholder. So product owner is part of the development team. That we need to remember. Then very first we need to understand what is the meaning of Scrum. The definition says that a daily meeting of the Scrum team that reviews progress and prioritizes work to be done that day. Ideally, this should be a short face-to-face meeting that includes the whole team. So that means the way we conduct the meeting every day, that process is called as Scrum. Every day we conduct face-to-face meetings with the team members to see that what is the work to be done for the day and what are the priorities that will be conveyed to each and every individual within the team. And that process is called as Scrum meeting. And to control and coordinate this entire meeting, there will be a boss, and we call him as Scrum Master. The Scrum Master is responsible for ensuring that the Scrum process is followed and all the guidelines the team, and he guides the team in an effective manner. And he is responsible for interfacing with the rest of the company and for ensuring that the Scrum team is not diverted by outside interference. That means this Scrum Master.
Sir,
Hello.
sir, your screen is not visible, sir.
Okay, now visible?
Yes, sir.
Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So Scrum means you understood that it's a way how we conduct the meetings every day. So as part of that Scrum meetings, each individual will come to know what is his task for the day, and also if there is anything that was pending for the in the previous day that has to be um, finished first, then the day's work should be completed. So that's the purpose why they conduct Scrum meetings. And also, students, one more thing we need to understand: the Scrum is not limited only to the software projects. Say, for example, you have a tech support team. Yes, there also you can implement Scrum process. See, the overall idea behind the Scrum is to control and coordinate the activities of various teams. So it can be a software development team, or it can be a quality analysis team, it can be a testing team, or even it can be a tech support team. You can apply the Scrum process. The Scrum Master is responsible for guiding the whole team. That means, as I told, the maximum size of the team could be 7 members. All these 7 members will be guided by Scrum Master, and he will not leave his team to interact with the outside world. That means any outside interference within the company should not disturb this development team. So that will be taken care by the Scrum Master. And also, this Scrum Master is responsible for interfacing with the customer or the customer representative to take new set of requirements, and that will be conveyed to the development team. Say, for example, the customer comes with new requirements, then he has to convey that to the Scrum Master. In turn, Scrum Master will convey that message to the developer stating that, so if the customer has come up with new set of requirements, immediately after this sprint cycle, we have to start working on this new set of requirements. That should be conveyed by the Scrum Master to the development team. Then sprint. So now a development iteration sprints are usually 2 to 4 weeks long. Okay, so here we say sprint cycle. So usually what is sprint? Say, for example, we say is a sprint runner. That means, say the person who runs for 100 or 200 meters, we call him as a sprint runner, isn't it? Similarly, here also, why they are using the word sprint? Because here it will say the duration of sprint is only 2 to 4 weeks. It is not in terms of months or years. That's why it is called as sprint. That means each sprint will end within 15 days or 30 days, so that within this stipulated time we can release the working software. Then one more term we use, that is velocity. Velocity is an estimate of how much product backlog effort that a team can cover in single sprint. That means, say for example, within say in the product backlog there are 10 user stories. So if we decide only 2 product backlogs can be finished in this sprint cycle, then the velocity is 2. So what is this 2? It means you can completely implement 2 product backlogs or 2 requirements inside the product backlog. That is called as the velocity. Now, very importantly, look at this diagram. This diagram shows how this Scrum sprint cycle will work. See, every sprint cycle will start with the product backlog. See, this is the product backlog. Here we have the set of requirements which are written in terms of user stories or scenarios. See, when we develop a project using waterfall model, there we call it as SRS document. SRS document contains all the requirements, isn't it? Now here that SRS document is replaced by product backlog. This product backlog is just like a repository which contains all the user stories. From that, we have to give the priority. So how to give the priority? See, as I told, here the customer or the customer representative is always the part of the development team. So he will assign the priority because he will be interacting with the customer. He will be knowing so which are all the requirements that are of very high priority to the customer. Such user stories will be taken first, and that will be considered for the first sprint cycle, first Scrum sprint cycle. Then, so here the items are selected from the product backlog. Then plan the sprint. As I told, in the Scrum process, the first phase is the planning phase. So what to plan? So we take the user story. Then we consider for that the present sprint. Then that is called sprint backlog. So how many user stories that we are considering for the current sprint cycle, that will be stored under sprint backlog for reference by the development team. Now here our Scrum process starts. Now as part of that, now what we do, we take the user stories. That means the development team will take that user stories. Further, they will convert them into task cards. Further, they will convert them into task cards. Then task cards will be implemented. That means coding will be done based upon the task card. The task card will tell so what tasks are to be implemented, and also using the task card only we need to do all the necessary scheduling and budget estimation. Then once we completely implement, so then to test the application we need to prepare a test card. So what is the basis for preparing the test card means by using the task card we can prepare always the test cases, and also if there is any gaps in understanding, then further the test engineer may have a relook at the user stories. That means by using test card and user stories as the basis, the test engineer can prepare test cases, and we call it as test card. Okay. So test case means it contains in detailed information, whereas the test card contains abstract information about how to test the application or how to test a particular functionality. For each of the functionality, we'll be preparing a test card. So once we test, then our software is ready to release. That is called as potentially shippable software. Potentially shippable software. So once that is shipped to the customer, then review the sprint. Okay. Then review work to be done. Then once again get ready for the second sprint cycle. So here you have the product backlog. From the product backlog, assign priority. So priority wise you pick certain user stories for the second sprint cycle. That is select items, plan sprint. Then whatever you selected for the sprint cycle, to store it in the sprint backlog, then start the sprint. So starting the sprint means the development activities started. So what are the activities that are part of development? So converting them into task cards, then implementing them, then writing the test cards. That is all part of the sprint. Okay, then so that entire thing is nothing but sprint. Then potentially shippable software, review the software before delivering it to the customer. So once in the review you found that everything is been implemented as expected by the client, then just deliver the software to the client. Then once again start the next iteration. So third iteration, like that. So like this sprint cycle will work. Students, anything you want to ask? So now in this scenario, I am assuming that for developing the software, we are using extreme programming, and to monitor the project, we are using Scrum process. Is there any confusion, students? For developing the project, we are using extreme programming, and to monitor the project, that is for project monitoring or management, we are using Scrum process. Is there any confusion for you? So these are the concepts which you had asked to cover once again. That means the doubt section is over. Now I'll start with module 5. Module 5 is project management. Yes, project management. It's a different textbook. Pankaj Jalote. Project planning. So for fifth module, for first two modules, you can use Ian Somerville, and for remaining modules, you have to use different textbook students. Totally, we'll be using 3 textbooks for software engineering students. So the first textbook what I used was Ian Somerville, software engineering, and the second textbook is Pankaj Jalote. Author is Pankaj Jalote. So, and this is the author PPT. So look at what is the agenda. So name of the chapter is planning a software project, and agenda of this chapter is to study the background of software projects, then effort estimation. So the meaning of effort estimation is, what are the resources required for the project, that planning has to be done. Then also at the same time, the cost estimation has to be done. Then schedule and resource estimation, quality planning, risk management, and project monitoring plans. First, let us look for software projects, how to set the goal, and let us see what is the ultimate goal of a software project. The ultimate goal of a software project is to build a software system to meet commitments on cost, schedule, and quality. See, we all know that the very first thing is to build an quality product and in an economical manner. Economical manner means we have to minimize the costs, isn't it? So we have to develop a software using cost-effective methods. Then we have to meet the commitments in terms of costs and schedule and also quality. That means the project cost-wise, say the cost-wise. So whatever the budget that you had estimated, within that budget you have to complete the project so that the company will get very good profit margin. Then within the schedule you have to finish the project. Say for example, so while planning, you have scheduled the overall project for 1 year. So that means within 1 year you have to finish the project. Then quality. When the project meets all the non-functional requirements, then obviously it will be a very high quality software product. Then look at this. A survey says that worldwide many projects will fail. 1/3 are runaways with the cost or schedule overrun of more than 125%. That means, say for example, if they say the project duration is 1 year, so it will overrun for more than 125%. And the survey says that 1/3 of the software projects will face this problem. That means 1/3 of the overall projects across the globe will take extra duration. That means overrun of more than 125%. So actually that should not happen. Why such things will happen? Because of the failure in project planning. Now just look at what are those project failures. The major reasons for project runaways or the project failures are unclear objectives. While setting the goal, we'll also set the objectives. Say, I'll give some example. Say we are developing an project for an educational institution. So what are all the objectives? Okay, the very first objective can be like this. The college portal or a website should give clear information to the stakeholders about the service that they are offering. That means when I say college, what are the services they will be offering? See, they will be running the courses. That web portal should give clear information to the students and the parents what are all the courses available, and within the college what are all the facilities available. See, that is an example for objective. isn't it? So similarly, see, these objectives should be made known to each and every individual within the project. What happens when each and every individual within the project will come to know, so what are all the objectives? That means that is the motivation. With what objective we are working for this project? If that is known, so then implementing the functionality becomes easier for the team members. Then bad planning. See, bad planning means, see, when you are estimating the cost, that should be proper. When you are estimating the schedule, that is the duration, time duration for the project, that should be very much accurate. See, that is the reason why one third of the projects, software projects across the globe are overrunning 125%. By 125%, that means, say for example, if the duration is 1 year, it is taking more than 2 years, 2.25 years. So why? Because bad planning. They don't know what is the uh, effort required, how many engineers are required to implement this project, how many testers are required, uh, how many people are required to do design, all such things. The planning should be very much accurate. Then no project management methodology. If you do not follow standard project management methodology, then what happens? The individuals within the team, they'll follow their own methods, and overall the work will not sync. You cannot synchronize the work. So hence it will lead to project failure. Then new technology. See, if at all you want to use new technology, in the beginning itself, you make sure that you will give necessary training to all the members within the project who will be using that new technology. So instead of that, in some cases, what happens, say for example, so they'll be starting the project using, say for example, PHP. Then while implementing some of the functionality, they will come to know that this functionality cannot be implemented by using PHP. Then they'll start re-implementing everything starting from the scratch using some other programming language like Java or .NET. So that should not happen. The new technology should not be introduced in the middle of the project. So the project manager and the technical lead should take a call in the beginning itself. What architecture should be used? What is the framework that they have to follow? So when I say a framework for a software project, that framework will tell what are all the tools and technologies that are to be used. Say for example, I'll select Java J2EE framework. So when I say Java and J2EE framework or a J2EE framework, the J2EE framework works based upon Java. So Java is the primary language. Then it provides within the framework, J2EE provides you the tools such as JSP, JSTL, Java Frames, Hibernate, Threads, Spring, XML. So these are all the supportive tools provided by J2EE framework. So by using any of these tools or the combination of these tools, you can completely implement the project. Similarly, when I say .NET framework, so you know there are so many variants of .NET like ASP.NET, isn't it? C#.NET, isn't it? And it also supports for IIS server. So these are all the tools which are part of .NET framework. So it's a task of the technical lead or the project manager to decide in the beginning itself what framework they have to use so that requirements will be implemented 100%, and also it is going to meet all the non-functional requirements. Not only the functional requirements, it should also meet all the non-functional requirements such as security, maintainability, portability, and so on. Then next reason is insufficient staff. See, usually in the software companies, what happens? Say, for example, Cognizant wants to bid for a particular project. Now, before going for bidding that project, they will see what is their bench strength. See, the meaning of bench strength is currently how many engineers are sitting without any project. That means they are actually literally waiting for a project. They don't have any work in the office. They are waiting for a new project. So based upon that, okay, say for example, now Cognizant company wants to bid for a project, and to they know what is the requirements, client requirements. Say for example, to the human force required is, say for example, 100 people, and the bench strength is 80. Okay, that is okay. So already 80 people are there. In case if we get the project within 1 month, we can hire another 20 people. So that is okay. That is acceptable. In case suppose if the bench strength is 50, if the bench strength is 50 or even less than 50, then in case if they get the project, it becomes very difficult to hire 50 or more people in 1 month, one single month. Because right now, you know, right, it's the pandemic, isn't it? It's a pandemic situation. Most of the interviews are virtual interviews. Means everything is happening through virtual platform. So it is not so easy to conduct so many interviews, isn't it? See, then you should know another thing. Okay, especially for the post of senior software engineer, the selection rate is 2 to 3%. In some cases, it will be 5%. Okay, not more than that. That means if they interview 100 people, they will hire 2 to 5 people. If they conduct interview for 100 engineers, they are going to hire 2 to 5 engineers. That means you imagine if they want to hire 50 engineers, how many interviews are to be conducted. So, so that is the reason. Okay. So for any company, before bidding for a project, they have to know what is our bench strength. Okay. So therefore, insufficient staff is also one of the reason for project failures. That means if the delay in hiring, obviously the things will get delayed. All of these relate to project management. Effective project management is key to successfully executing a project. Okay, effective project management is the key to successfully executing a project. So how to effectively manage the project? There are so many aspects. So one such aspect is you should have a very good project management technique. One such technique is Scrum. Scrum will help. So Scrum just alone is not enough. So you should have very good project management tool. For example, Jira. So Jira is one tool where every individual within the project will keep updating their status. That means without asking anybody, we can track what is the status of each and every individual within the project. Say for example, today the one of the test engineer has identified some bug and he has raised the issue, and that message has gone to the developer. So at the end of the day, he can track, the tester can track whether the developer has corrected that bug and whether it has come for testing once again or not. Such things can be tracked. And also for the project managers and the team leads, it is easy to, if they use such tools, it becomes easy for them to track their team members. So all such things are very, very important as part of project management. Why to improve project management? PM means here project management. Better predictability leading to commitments that can be met. See, if you can predict the issues that may arise in the beginning itself, so that becomes easy to meet the commitments. Lower cost through reduced rework, better resource management, and better planning. You can always reduce the overall cost by reducing the rework. So how to reduce the rework means, if you can predict some of the issues that may arise by looking at the nature of the project, so that really will reduce the amount of rework required. Then by better utilizing the resources. The resources means the engineers are the resources That is the, we call them manpower, and the tools are the resources, and especially the automation tools and project management tools. We have to use them in a better way so that it will reduce the overall cost of the project, and obviously the better planning. So better planning includes the cost estimation, the resource estimation, and so on. Then improved quality through proper quality planning and control. So to achieve this, there is a separate and a specialized team called as QA team. We call them as quality assurance team. They'll take care of that quality control and assessment. Then better control through change control, change management, monitoring, etc. So in the second module, we have studied about change management, change control, and so on. So, and monitoring process. That is very, very important because see whatever the requirements that are to be implemented for the given iteration, so that has to be told in the beginning itself. What happens in the middle if they are coming and suggesting the changes? Obviously, lot of rework has to be done. So such things should be avoided. Then better visibility into project health and state leading to timely intervention. So this can be achieved by using project management tools. Better visibility into the project health and state leading to timely intervention. So once you know the status of each and every activity, see in case of iterative development, especially in Agile, when you are applying Agile, the activities will happen in parallel. Say for example, development and testing will be happening parallel. Say for example, if the developers are developing the code, the testers will be generating the test cases. So the things will happen in parallel and the things will happen in tandem. So we should have better project management techniques. Better handling of risks, reducing the chances of failure. So always you can identify the risks, especially when you are working on the similar type of projects. Say for example, Infosys is an expert in banking software across the globe. See, across the globe, Infosys is the one company which is selling more number of products in the banking domain. So therefore, they are the pioneers. Say now, if I say when Infosys is working on new banking software, obviously they know already since they have developed so many similar projects, so they can estimate what kind of issues may arise in different phases of the product product development. Okay, that is very, very important. And especially more risks will be arised when any company developing the particular project for the first time. So that is the scenario where more issues will be arised. As this leads to higher customer satisfaction and organization improvement. That means if you improve the project management techniques, so it will also lead to customer satisfaction and organization improvement. Now let us see what is the project management process. The project management process has three phases. The first phase is planning, second phase is monitoring, and the second phase is monitoring and control, and the third phase is closure. Planning is done before the much of the engineering process and closure after the process. That means, see the plan, look at this second point. Planning is done before the much of the engineering process, that is life cycle. That means even before selecting the right process model, the planning should be done. Okay. So you have to do the project management plan, how to manage the project, what is the schedule and so on, even before selecting the process model. So process model means whether to go with waterfall model or whether to go with iterative development or whether to go with configuration model or what. Okay, even before deciding that, you have to do the project planning, project management process. You have to do the project planning. So monitoring phase is in parallel with life cycle. LC means life cycle. That means monitoring phase will execute in parallel with life cycle. So life cycle plan can be any plan. Say, when I say project life cycle, the life cycle means it starts with initial planning and it ends with closure, project closure. So in between, there are so many activities. Those activities are to be monitored. That is the reason why they have given monitoring phase is in parallel with life cycle. So life cycle means it includes all the activities starting with requirements, gathering and planning till closure. So during this course of time, in each and every stage of the project, you have to monitor. So then also we should know who will monitor the project. So it is a project manager, product owner, and the delivery manager. So these are the people who are linked with monitoring process. Once again, I repeat: project manager, product owner, then technical leads. Then if there are any customer representatives, so these are the people who will monitor all the activities within the life cycle. We focus on planning, monitoring covered through its planning. Okay, look at the statement. We'll focus on planning and the monitoring will be covered through its planning. That means while planning for the project, we will also plan how to monitor the project. So therefore, monitoring is covered through planning. Okay, what is the basic objective of project planning? The basic objective of project planning is to create a plan to meet the commitments of the project. That is to create a plan to meet the commitments of the project. That is, create a path that it followed will lead to a successful project. That is the overall objective. So you need to create a plan such that within the stipulated time, within the stipulated budget, we are going to deliver a very high quality software to your client. Okay, that is the indirectly that is the objective. Planning involves defining the life cycle process to be followed. Estimates means the cost estimation and the effort estimation. Estimates means two things: cost estimation and effort estimation. Two things will come as part of estimates. Then detailed schedule. The detailed schedule will tell, say for example, so when the design document will be ready, when the source code will be ready, when the test report will be ready. So we have to put the schedules for all these things. Then plan for quality. As I told, there is a separate quality assurance team. They'll prepare the plan for quality. Okay, here you are supposed to know, say if I say some particular plan, you should know who will prepare that. If I say quality assurance plan, QA team will prepare. So if I say test plan, the test team will prepare. Okay, then development plan. So who will prepare? Project manager will prepare by consulting the technical lead and the architecture. He will prepare. Then what is the main output of project planning? The main output of project planning is a project management plan and project schedule. So there are two outputs of project planning: a project management plan and the project schedule. Keep in your mind. Now let us see what are the key planning tasks. The very first task is effort, estimating the effort. So we need to understand what is the meaning of estimating the effort. Say, for example, see, every software industry works for 8 hours. Every employee has to work for 8 hours. Say what they say. So it is like 8 plus 1 hour. That means 1 hour is the break period and remaining 8 hours they have to work. So like that they estimate how many hours are required. how many man hours required. Say for example, within a project, say 20 people are working in a given day. So 20 into 8. So 160 hours. Okay. So per day, 160 hours of effort is being spent on a project. Say for example, the overall effort required is 10,000 hours. Okay, overall estimate is 10,000 man hours are required. So if 20 people are working every day, so every day if they work 160 hours, so then how many days are required? 10,000 divided by 160 will give you the man hours required. So that is called, yes, that is one example for estimate effort. So now later I'll show you there are formulas, okay, how to calculate. Okay, that also we will see. Define project milestones and create a schedule. Say example for project milestone. Say for example, say within these many days, we will finish off writing the user scenarios. Okay, that is one milestone. Okay, after that, within these many days, okay, once the user stories are ready, within these many days, we will finish design. Okay, that is one milestone. Then once we are done with design, so within these many days or these many months, we'll finish entire development task. That is one milestone. Okay, then after once the development is done, so within these many days, testing and QA will be finished. Okay, that is one milestone. Okay, these are all milestones, and for that we need to create a schedule, which is part of project planning. Then define quality objectives and a quality plan. So the quality objectives and quality plan will be, see, quality objectives will may be prepared in the beginning. Okay, but quality plan will be prepared by QA team, that is quality assurance team. Then identify risks and make plans to mitigate them. So in the beginning itself, try to identify the risks and make plans to mitigate them. That means how to counterattack those risks. That plan should be made well in advance. Define measurement plan, project tracking, procedures, training plan, team organization. The define measurement plan means how to measure the progress of the project. So the very best tool for that is to have a very good project management software. Everyone will be updating their task so that it becomes easy to measure the status of the how much percentage of the project is completed and what is the status of each and every task. Okay, that can be monitored easily if you use project management tools like Jira, Conflicts, Wix, and so on. Then project tracking procedures. So how to track the project? Say for example, when you do Scrum meeting every day, so there also will come to know. So that can be one of the thing using which we can track the project. We can do project tracking. Then training plan. Training plan is very much essential, especially so you have to provide domain knowledge to the team members, and also in case if you are using new technologies, that training will be should be given well in advance. Then team organization. So you need to compose a proper team. Say for example, when there are 5 people within the team, so among them usually 2 will be the females and 3 will be the male candidates. So that is the what one of the technique usually in the industry follows. If the team size is 7, obviously 3 female engineers and remaining male engineers will be there. 2 to 3 female members you need to put inside your team. So that is to achieve very good communication within the team. Students, will stop it here. We'll continue tomorrow. I'll take the attendance. USN 1.
Yes, sir.
In case if you are absent yesterday, you should tell me.